Hello everyone. Welcome. Man, I really need to start networking with other YouTubers and ask them how to make the stream more entertaining. Not in the content, but I'm talking about the layout. I was watching other streamers and they all have like blitz bling and thingies on the screen, like everything is happening. They have like really cool layout and a lot more technologically advanced than what I do. And maybe I can do something like that. Damn it, I forgot Antifa Romania. I'm really sorry. Shit. I guess we'll have to find a day. We'll have to find some time when we can do it. You know what? Like let's do it now. Fuck it. Okay, let's see if I can do it. Chat. There's going to be some technical issues while I try to see if I can hook up and manage to get Antifa Romania on the chat. Can you message me on Discord, please? And I'll DM you. DM me on the Discord and I'll call you. And we can see if we can do something about it. But yeah. So, maybe I'll do it with Antifa Romania. Oh, he can't do it now. Okay, well, I want to have him on. You know, it's very rare that I find a left-leaning person, progressive, that isn't a person that I disagree with completely. And you'll see that Antifa Romania is different than Antifa from Germany, for example, or the one from Canada, which surprisingly came against the working class recently. Like, that was very bizarre. I think the trucker strike is the first class struggle that I see in my lifetime. I mean, everyone is working class there, right? Like, that's what truckers are. And you have the left coming against the working class. It's just like, what? Nani? Nani? But yes, no, it's not that I really want it now. It's just that I promised I will do it, and I haven't done it. It's very interesting with the whole trucker thing because it's very controversial. Elon Musk came in support of it, so I don't think that social media is going to ban support of it, but Facebook is doing so. GoFundMe suspended donations to it. Yes, Higgins. Okay, congratulations, you're a mod as well. So yeah. All right, let's talk about something else. Let's talk about Joe Rogan. I really like Joe Rogan now because not of him or his show, but the controversy surrounding him. It's very interesting that all these people want him banned. Like the government, the White House, is going wink wink. Can you do something about it, Spotify? Wink wink. I mean, we like what you did, but it's not enough. Can you do more? Wink wink. Yeah. I also found out by watching Joe Rogan that peanuts do grow in the ground like potatoes. Like, I generally thought that peanuts grow on trees, but no. They're like potatoes. They come out from the ground. That blew my mind. It's true. I googled it. So yes, same with the builders in Melbourne. The left hates the working class. Yeah. It's all about races now and identity politics. It's not about class. In fact, almost no one talks about class now. It's just, I guess, like, the working class is being replaced with the concept of immigrants in the modern left. The poor is being replaced with the concept of minorities. So, for example, if you're white and you're poor, you don't matter. But if you're black and you're rich, then you're oppressed. I mean, they literally, like, changed. It's kind of like there is an overlap in many countries between minority, but it's not even true. Like, Asians are a minority and they're not poor. So like, the whole ideology is really batshit crazy. It's why communism at least made sense. Like, the economic Marxism. I'm not saying it works, but I'm saying, like, ideologically, when you read it, it has less inherent inconsistencies than the current progressive ideology. Like, the progressive ideology requires so much censorship just because it has inconsistency after inconsistency. I mean, the simple phrase that men can get pregnant and if you disagree with this, you're not welcomed in progressive circles, is exactly why it requires censorship. I mean, just go outside and do this experiment, like go ask your taxi driver or, go on a construction site and ask a builder, hey, do you think men can get pregnant? Like, what do you think they're going to say? Right? But if you don't agree, you can't be a progressive. Like, this is the benchmark. This is the litmus test now. J.K. Rowling is a very progressive woman, but because she disagrees with this, she's problematic. So you need ample censorship in order to make sure that this ideology is protected from criticism. Kind of like religion, if you think. Right? Like, why do you have blasphemy laws in theocratic nations? It's exactly that, because there's a lot of things in religion that doesn't make sense, and you're not supposed to ask them. You're not supposed to think about it. Right? And at the moment you ask them, well, you're blaspheming. So things that aren't logical, things that don't make sense. This whole thing with misinformation and blah, 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 it's the same thing like peasants shouldn't be allowed to read books. It's really the same. It's like, don't give peasants access to books because they might have crazy ideas. So, okay, we got Antifa Romania on Discord. Let me see if I can get him on. He's got even the black fist with a rose. The Ushikushi rose. Let me see if I can start a voice call. We're going to go through some technical difficulties as I'm trying to get a communist on my channel. He's not going to be the first. The first communist was Bad Mouse. Yes, Bad Mouse was from UK. Alright, hold on. I can't hear you. I need to do a little bit of tinkering on Discord. I need to go into the setup. Give me a second. Okay, say something now. Still can't hear you. No, let's do the stream some other time, because it requires a little bit of setup, and without the setup I can't. I don't want to do it live because it will take too much. I mean, it will take probably like 20 minutes or so, from personal experience. All right. The workers and the poor are the people who keep voting progressivism. I have no idea. I don't think truck drivers vote progressivism. I don't think bricklayers vote... I mean, if you're a bricklayer, like, think about it this way. So I'm a bricklayer in Romania, right? And I pay 50% taxes to the government. Why on earth would I vote for more taxation? It doesn't make sense. I don't think that's the case. Not to mention, like, what exactly does the left offer to the working class? Like, well, if you're a truck driver, what do the Democrats offer you? Realistically speaking, like, what exactly are you voting for? What do you gain? Better roads, probably. The infrastructure bill, right? That's probably what you gain. The thing is, like, if you look at the infrastructure bill, like, one of the things they want is to have speed limits and to have more cameras so you can get more fines. Bildung Bremst says, lol, Romanian Antifa. Now I seen everything. We do have a small group of Antifa. The thing is, I think I might be mistaken with the history of the prestigious organization of Antifa in Romania, but I think there was a NATO summit and Antifa was up to no good during that summit. And the Romanian Secret Service started welding canals and arresting people, and they got most of their leadership. And since that day, they haven't been a nuisance. This was like years ago, like when we just entered NATO. So it was interesting. But still, I will have to look it up because I had newspapers of it. But yeah. Welfare and free shit? What, for the truck driver? Like, the truck driver doesn't get welfare. He pays for other people's welfare. Free shit? What exactly? Like, what does a truck driver get that's free? I mean, the only thing that can happen to a truck driver is more regulations. It's like, oh, you're polluting too much. You need to install a new filter. You need to buy a new truck so that it doesn't pollute. Unironically, this is one of the reasons why there was a shortage in Canada for trucks. It's because of the regulations that required them to make sure that their trucks are up to standard and they're not polluting, right? So again, like, it's not in your interest to vote progressive if you're a truck driver. That's probably why the left doesn't care about the working class. Like, it's not in their interest to vote for the left. And I'm not saying, like, from a... Like, here's the thing. Most people, right? I'm talking about, like, the average Joe, not ideologues. Most people, they vote for the party that benefits them in real life. So, for example, you have a person that goes to work, comes home, and brings food on the table. And it's like, okay, what does this politician give me? Like, realistically speaking. And if you have, like, maybe on election day there's like a recent scandal or something like that, maybe. But, like, if you have, like, more taxes, you're probably not going to get the vote. They get free shit from their employers because go unions. Yeah, but, like, that's the union. Like, why would you vote? I don't know. Again, you're in Sweden. Sweden is bizarre, right? So I'm not counting Sweden. I don't know how the rest of the world is like. Sorry, I know how the rest of the world is like, but Sweden is a mystery. Right. Let me go to the news. Because, believe it or not, there were actually some interesting things that happened. Look at this, all right? Like, look at what progressivism has done. And I'll tell you why it's progressivism. 77% tested at Baltimore. So Baltimore is a predominantly black city. The demographics, I mean. And not only that, there was, like, this really cool black lady which ran for elections. She didn't win, but she was, like, a right-winger. She was very sassy. I loved her. 77% tested at Baltimore High School, read at elementary level, some at kindergarten level. Now, I don't know how many of you remember, but there was this push from teachers in order to stop focusing on math and spelling because it's not progressive, because, like, black people are falling behind. So instead of actually doing their job and teaching students, they're giving up on students. But they're doing it in pretty language, in beautiful progressive slang, and that they're managing to frame it in a nice way. It's like, oh, we're compassionate. We're doing this because we don't want to see black people fail. And it's like, okay, the purpose of a high school is not to get a diploma. The purpose of a high school is realistically to actually learn things, and the diploma shows that you have learned them. But they're putting the cart in front of the horse now. They're like, oh, no. The purpose of the high school is for the cardboard, for the piece of paper, to get the diploma. So if you're not going to focus on helping students learn to teach, learn to write, and learn to do math, what are you forcing them to learn? I mean, they're forcing them to learn how to be a good progressive, right? Like, the focus should be on sex education. Like, kids should learn their LGBTs rather than ABCs. And it was, like, obvious that it's going to happen. Like, when you have this mentality, when you come up with the mentality that, all right, we need to have equity. And in order to have equity, we're going to stop giving bad grades for people that don't have proper grammar. I mean, this is even at the university level. If you go on Campus Reform, it's a website that talks about how universities and schools in America operate, and they have, like, a lot of leaked material, whether it is, like, a student coming out and showing some thing that they were taught in class or whatever. And this is the end result. Like, with friends like this, who needs enemies? If I was a minority in the United States and this is the compassion that the progressives would give me, who needs enemies? I mean, they literally want you to be dumb. They don't care. Like, they gave up on you. When you say, oh, yes, well, we can't have proper grammar because that's racist, they gave up on you. They're not willing to teach. They're not willing to work. And you have all these teachers that don't seem to be... their work isn't qualified. They don't have a standard. Like, for example, if you go to McDonald's and you find a bone in your hamburger, that's a problem. You hold a person accountable. They didn't do their job. There's not supposed to be a bone in your hamburger. But if a teacher fails to teach a student to the point where they can't read and write at 77%, this is fucking insane. 77%. Can you understand this? 2/3. More than 2/3. And by the way, this isn't happening in UK, right? Because you can make the argument, oh well, minority. That it's not happening around the world. The so-called working class are entirely subsidized by the top 10%. That's why the called working class and yes truckers vote progressivism. I don't know. Whatever. Maybe they do. I haven't seen a poll to see how truckers vote. 3/4. Yeah, my bad. Math is hard. It is hard, okay? Damn it. It is hard. Math is hard. Yes. That's why I went to law school. And then I went to med school. Because math is hard. I'm sorry, I was upset. Like I legitimately just saw this news and it upset me. Brain stopped working. Brain short circuit. See? My teacher failed me as well. This is why I'm upset. My math teacher failed me. Yes, I am part of that. Yes, I admit. I have been failed by my teacher. Which is why I'm upset. It's so interesting because reading, like learning to read and write, is something that everyone does by themselves. Well, not everyone, but like most people do by themselves. I taught myself how to read and write. So like the school isn't even that important, but you at least think that this is the very basic. Like it's not so hard to teach people to read and write when they can teach themselves. Like you don't need a school to learn how to read and write. Whatever. I'm not joining the 77%. I am part of the 77%. I actually taught myself German as well. English too. Like now that I'm thinking about it, like most of the things that I know I didn't even learn in school. In Romania we also had the same mentality. So in Romania you have 12 years of high school, and then you have a very hard exam, and after the exam you go to university. And the whole thing was that everyone needs to pass that exam. Right? Like everyone needs to pass high school, everyone needs to pass that exam. Like you still have this mentality, and I'm thinking like, no, maybe it's not okay. Maybe not everyone needs to pass. Like if everyone passes, then what's the point? But it's the same thing. It's the mentality that you need to raise the literacy rate, and by literacy they mean like people who finish high school. So everyone needs to finish high school, and it's like why? Like some people don't need to finish high school. For example, there was this guy in my class, brilliant football player. I mean, he actually played very good, and eventually he even got recruited in a professional team. And now I think he's making money. He's still playing sports. He didn't need a high school. In fact, like high school was taking it away from him. Like it was removing his ability to focus on his game. Because playing football doesn't mean that you're just like on the field. It also means like you're going on training and you're practicing all the time, and like that is an example. There are people who live on a farm and they grow stuff, right? And then they sell it to the market. Like people who have done this for generations, and they have no interest in getting a job. They just want to keep working on a farm. I mean, that guy doesn't need to go to a university, right? Not everyone has to. I mean, sure, if people want to, they should work for it, but not everyone has to. It's not because now when everyone goes to a university, you have like jobs that my parents didn't require a qualification to attend, but now you need a university degree just to qualify for the job. Like for example, I saw one of these 24/7s, like the Romanian equivalent, and they were hiring people in order to sell, but they required you to have a university degree. And I'm thinking, why the fuck would you need a university degree to sell candy to people? And the answer is, because there are people who finished university that are going to work at a 24/7. And that is one of the selections that they're doing. So they're not going to have like 10,000 resumes on the table. And they're just going to have 1,000. So they could actually ask you to have a university degree to work at a 24/7. That is like where we're at now. Oh yeah, and the technical schools. Yeah, the social democrats in Romania defunded the technical schools. In fact, there was a stigma. There's a shame. There's a shame if you actually go to one of these trading schools and you learn how to be a carpenter. There's a shame in that. Like, there's a stigma. So after communism, there were engineers, like people who finished the university and they were engineers, and they went to become truck drivers in Poland. And there was stigma from the other engineers. Why? Well, because it's like, oh, but you finished a university. Why did you finish a university in order to drive a truck? It's like, after I finished law school, I managed to get a job at a hospital. And this is before I went to med school, because that's why I even went to med school. I actually liked how it's like in a hospital. So I was at the hospital, and I was doing the statistics for the patients. I was writing down papers into the computer, into the system. And I had other students from law school shaming me for doing that. It's like, why are you doing that type of work? Like, you don't need a university to do that type of work. Why aren't you working in law? And I'm like, okay, but you're unemployed. You're unemployed. You're not making any money, and you're mocking me for actually getting a minimum paid job. But I actually have a job. Like, I'm actually working. So you're mocking me for working because I choose not to be unemployed and a burden on my parents. Whatever. Nobody likes being working class, not even the working class. That's absolutely false. I know several working class people that love being working class. I mean, there's this guy which works at the construction site next to my house, and whenever I need something done, I call him, right? So when I need something installed, like maybe some furniture being built or whatever, he actually says that the reason he is so sought after is because whenever he does something, he does it with passion, and if he's not happy with it, he's not going to, like for example, if he wants to set a shelf, if he's not happy with it, and by happy he means like it's as if he would set it in his own home. If it's not perfect, he's not done. Like, he's not going to finish a job and leave it imperfect, if you know what I mean, right? Like, he's not going to do a half-ass of it. He's not going to half-ass the job. But no, like, he legitimately likes it. And there's a lot of people who, especially the ones that build furniture, there's a lot of people that are very happy with the job that they are doing. And apparently, I've been told that building a chair, for example, right? Like making a chair out of nothing, even if it's like a very basic chair, it makes you feel very proud. It makes you feel very accomplished because it's a chair you've made. Like you did it with your own hands. And a lot of people, they do like that line of work. I mean, even being a builder, you get to build a house. You look at that house and you're like, dude, I built it. I made that house. You know, it makes you feel proud. You're actually doing something. The working class people I encounter were not very content. Well, obviously there's different types of people. I mean, you know, it's not that different from any other job. I mean, there are people who have a university degree and they're unhappy with the job that they're doing. I know a lot of people that code and they're not happy coding. I mean, hell, I even have a friend that worked at Blizzard and he wasn't happy at Blizzard anymore. He wasn't happy with the way the corporation sucked all the enjoyment out of his life. It really depends. Yeah, sure. Like not every working class guy is happy, and at the same time, not every person that's not working class and is part of the intelligentsia is happy either. I mean, in Romania, the teachers used to strike. I think it was like once every year. Look at it. Look at Tactical Droid. He made a shitty little door opener, and he's so proud of it. Yeah, I mean, it depends, right? Especially if you're making complex furniture. Like you come up with a new idea, like making a gazebo, right? Like imagine making a gazebo from scratch. Of course you're going to be proud of it. By the way, like there was this guy, I think it was on YouTube, so from Norway or Sweden, I forgot where. And what he did is he went into the woods by himself for 1 year, and he built a log cabin. Now, just watching the video is so wholesome. Like the guy genuinely goes into the woods, starts chopping off trees, like he does it from scratch. I don't know if he actually built the tools in order to chop the tree. I don't think he played like Rust, where you start with a rock and you have to build your own axe and stuff. No, I think he had an axe. But he started chopping off trees, and then he built a log cabin by himself. That is so wholesome. Do I support American intervention in Ukraine? I don't think there's going to be American intervention in Ukraine. I don't even think there's going to be a Ukrainian conflict, but it's literally the same as the Cuban Missile Crisis in reverse. I keep saying this. I don't know why people keep asking. Right? So during the Cold War, America didn't want Russia to deploy nuclear missiles in Cuba. And they said that if they keep doing that, there will be war. Now it's literally the opposite. It's Russia saying they don't want NATO bases into Ukraine. And if they do that, there will be war. I mean, it's the situation in reverse. I think that America isn't going to put troops in Ukraine. I mean, they're actually open about it. Because they're more interested in Taiwan. Like, Taiwan is far more geopolitically important from all points of view than Ukraine. However, they will probably send military tech. So if there is a conflict, they will send a lot of newly developed technology that they have, like tanks and heavy weapons and other stuff, that the Ukrainians can test it out for them. And then you have like the weapons manufacturers making a pretty penny out of it. The Ukrainians, they managed to fight off the Russians, and everyone wins. Yes, like that's probably what's going to happen. Whatever, I genuinely find it interesting that even Tucker Carlson doesn't mention why America is duty bound to intervene in Ukraine. And I said this on my channel, but in case you're new and you didn't hear, after the Soviet Union fell, Ukraine was the second largest nuclear power in the world. It had a lot of nukes from the Soviet Union. And because of that, America and Russia were concerned, right? Like, you don't want a second nuclear power. So they were like, okay, well, give away your nukes, like sign the non-nuclear proliferation treaty, and instead, we're going to guarantee your territory integrity. So the Americans like made a pact with Ukraine that their territory is going to be respected. Russia is now, is not, I mean, it did violate the treaty with Crimea, and now it's probably going to violate it a little bit further. And that's why this whole thing exists. Because otherwise, no one would care. Or maybe they would, but still. Like, America wouldn't have a contractual obligation to defend Ukraine. The 3,000 troops, like that's nothing. Like 3,000 troops for the population of Ukraine. The only reason they're sending the troops is allegedly to instruct the Ukrainian soldiers. Hopefully they're going to do a better job than when they instructed the Afghanistan army. But secondly, it's also like, a missile fell from Russia and it hit some of our soldiers. Oh, well, now we have a reason to send more. Probably that. The Russians don't owe shit to Ukraine. I disagree. They signed the nuclear proliferation treaty. So again, Ukraine had more nukes than Russia at the time. And Russia said that if you get rid of the nukes, we're going to protect your territory integrity. So contractually, they're obligated. Now, you can say Russia can violate international contracts that it signs, and then it begs the question, why would anyone sign another contract with Russia? Which honestly is something that should have been asked from the first place, but okay, whatever. Russia has fucked Romania many times when it came with international treaties. So yes, historically speaking, Russia is not a very trustworthy nation. The Ottoman Empire, aka Turkey, however, never violated the contract with other countries except when the Sultan died. Like when the Sultan died, you would have a new Sultan and he would have reforms and he would violate a lot of the previous treaties. But that's different. Ukraine doesn't respect its minorities. Oh, well, okay, right. So if the Russians invade, the minorities are already going to be respected. Fine. I don't know. I mean, I find this weird to be a talking point, but by this logic, China should be invaded. I don't even know if all minorities are being respected in Russia, but like the idea that minorities aren't being respected, therefore the nation should be invaded is a very spicy topic. I don't know if I agree with that. I think there are other methods to preserve the rights of minorities besides sending in Russian tanks. Yeah, whatever. How often did the Sultan die? Well, I think it happened twice every 100 years. I mean, the average lifespan of a Sultan, I don't know, 50, 60, depends. Some died sooner, some died later. Some went to war and lost. I mean, we're talking about the medieval time period, so the life expectancy wasn't that high. Pfizer wasn't invented yet, so... I have no clue why the federal government cares so much about Russia. They don't have a stable population equilibrium. They are losing populace per year. Population growth median age of Russian is 42. Well, dude, how much money is the United States investing in its military? I think it's probably the most expensive military budget around the world. So when you invest so much money in military toys, you want to use them. Like, who are you going to use them against? So, for example, the conflict with Ukraine is a perfect opportunity to give some of that technology to Ukraine and see how it works. So that's why they're invested. Plus, there's also corruption, right? Even if America itself doesn't benefit, you can have politicians that have corrupt dealings. But that's how corruption works, right? You pay the politician. So the politician pockets the money and then passes the correct legislation. That's how corruption works here in Eastern Europe. Even if the nation itself doesn't benefit. So if you're looking at it from a point of like, okay, but how much money does America make? Probably nothing. But if you're looking from the idea of like how much money goes into the politician's pockets, probably a lot. If Russia gets Ukraine, Russia will not get Ukraine. I mean, at best, they would have some Ukrainian territories, but even with Russia's own might, it can't conquer the entire Ukraine. And there's several reasons for it. Number one, the Russian population doesn't want a war. So it's and I know this is shocking for people, but yes, even in Russia, approval ratings do matter. Now, sure, you know, like if it's like less than 50% approval rating, okay, that can be fidgeted. But if it's like less than 20%, then you have a problem. So no, like the Russian people don't want a prolonged conflict. And the Ukrainians, they will probably have like resistance and guerrilla fights, and it will make it very costly for the Russians to even hold the territory. So no, I don't think that even if you would have a conflict, like Russia is not going to... What did Joe Biden say? It's like sack Kiev or some nonsense like that. That is complete bogus. Check DMs. More hot takes from Whoopi Goldberg. Okay, let's see what Whoopi. Okay. Pa, 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 pa. Whoopi Goldberg says Chinese people need to step up their efforts to end the pandemic they started. Brah. I mean, this is hot. You know, it's like, what's the name of that actor? Will Smith. It's like, oh, that's hot. That is hot. No lies detected. Okay. Whoopi Goldberg. Oh, come on. Dude, this is not true. She didn't say this. There is no way. I will have to read this article. This is... I mean, she gave them the end pass. She gave them the end. She's black. She can do it. Oh my god. This is... Why do we have cancel culture? I like Whoopi Goldberg now. Like, she's like South Park. But it's real. Base department, yes. Dude, they're fake. There's no way. Okay, let me look at one. So, Whoopi Goldberg. N-word football. All right, let's see. I can't find it. I think it's fake. Dude. It is fake. I was like, come on. Whoopi? Really? Like, progressive Whoopi is saying these things. Yeah, she didn't say that. Damn it. Look, this is why I usually choose not to read things on the stream, because I can't filter out the fake news. You just said America is contractually bound to defend Ukraine. Like, how are you saying it's corruption now? Because there have been many times in the past that America didn't fulfill its contract. Like, this wouldn't be the first. Usually it's what's politically convenient at the time. I mean, Russia is also contractually obligated to defend Ukraine's integrity, if you want to put it like that. And it's also, not only that, it's also the desire of the American people that you need to consider. If you look at it, America is a nation that has been to war constantly. And if you were to make a poll from the American people, overwhelmingly would want peace. I mean, I am really curious if you were to survey the American public and see how many people actually want America to go to war, especially with Russia. But not even that, like, how many people want America to have military conflicts right now? Like, overwhelmingly, and this is bipartisan, by the way, the left and the right, want America to get out of wars. But this is a talking point by many politicians. Usually they win when they say this. Do I like music from 2006? I don't know. I usually don't carbon date my music. We change our government every 4 years so that we don't have to honor contracts for longer than that. LOL. How is it that the Americans are being corrupt if they are keeping their word? No, I'm talking about the politicians who receive lobbying from Ukraine. You know that there are some shady business dealings. I don't know if you read the American press, but apparently there might be shady business dealings between Ukraine and certain people in power. Well, I mean, Twitter did remove those because, you know, the New York Times at the time was misinforming people. Now it's good information, but at the time it was problematic to say because it was election season. But yes, that's how. Like for example, Ukraine is the nation where Biden's son became a master in energy. Like he learned everything about energy, and he served on the board of a company. That there's some money going in, you know, and the money going in isn't just like to give charity to the Biden family. Usually, when money goes one way, there are expectations from the other way as well. It's a two-way street. Whoopi proves aging Hollywood types follow the Dark Knight ideology. You either die a hero or live long enough to become the villain. So, I don't know. I mean, just because you like an actor doesn't mean you like their political opinions. So, Whoopi was a really nice actress. I really liked her in Star Trek, and I saw her in other movies. But, like, politically speaking, I never thought that... Have you ever seen Whoopi in a debate with a right-winger, for example? Like someone that challenges her on her ideas and she manages to win the argument? No? Neither have I. Kind of the same with AOC. So in other words, just because you have political opinions doesn't mean you're smart. If you can't defend your opinions from opposition, if you never get challenged, if you never go in a debate, if you never get pressured on your political talking points, then that doesn't make you an intelligent person. It just makes you a talking head. You can just read the stuff from a script. So no, I generally don't think that Whoopi Goldberg's contribution to the political life is really that important. The worst part is she was a really level-headed, wise character in Star Trek. Man, if you watch the previous Star Trek, it is so based compared to what we have now. Just watch the old Star Trek versus Picard. It blows your mind. Please don't delete the stream. I will delete the stream. And upload the last one on Bishop. I don't have it. Also, I want to hear your review of Euphoria. It's a progressive show, which is surprisingly anti-progressive. I haven't seen it. I'm sorry, Alex P. I let you down on all points. Every single point I have been a letdown, Alex P. Yeah, actors, well, I love how people say actors are dancing monkeys, but it's kind of true. Like, you're doing stuff to entertain people. That's your job. And you're acting. Like, so you're playing a part that you're not. You're pretending you're someone that you're not. That's literally the whole point. So why are actors considered influencers? I don't know. But it's interesting because there's a lot of progressives, like left-wing people, that genuinely care more when an actor tells them something. So this is proven, like this is statistically the case. If an actor or an influencer says something, people believe it, even if it doesn't make sense. I mean, that's why companies hire actors for commercials. Or famous people. It's like, oh yes, I'm famous and I drink Monster drink and you should too. It's like, that's the whole reason they do it. Look at Hugh Hefner. For 50 years, everyone wants to be him. But after his death, all the negative accusation stories are coming out. I have no idea who Hugh Hefner is. Let me check it out. Let me see. Oh yeah, he does look familiar. American magazine publisher, founder, editor-in-chief of Playboy magazine. I mean, come on, if you found Playboy magazine, there's bound to be skeletons in the closet. I'm starting to understand why rich people keep doing these bad things. Um, like imagine this, all right? The concept that money doesn't bring happiness is partially true. I know it sounds ridiculous. It's something like a rich person would say to trick the poor. But like, look, not having money brings misery, but having too much money also brings misery. So the reality is, like, there is a sweet spot into how much money you should have. Imagine you're Jeff Bezos, right? For a second. Okay, close your eyes. You're Jeff Bezos. You can have anything. Like, literally anything. Right? Like, for you, nothing has value. What do I mean is that the luxurious becomes mundane. There are no luxury items for you. Everything can be yours. You can do anything. There is absolutely nothing stopping you from, taking your private jet and going to Japan. There is nothing stopping you from eating anything you want. There is nothing stopping you from driving whatever car you want. And at first, it's fun. At first, it's very exciting. You get to do all these cool things, right? Because now you have money and you get to do all these awesome things. But after a while, people get adjusted to their condition. Like, it's not that people are greedy. It's that mankind gets adjusted to their way of life. So if you have a person that gets into a car crash and loses a leg, that person is not going to be depressed for the rest of their life. They get adjusted to not having a leg. A blind person gets adjusted without being able to see. So does a rich person get adjusted with being filthy rich. Like, for him, being filthy rich becomes normal. And the main problem with this, you don't have desires anymore. Because everything you want, you get. So, remember when you're a kid and you really want a computer, right? And you really want a computer and mother says, like, you're going to get one on your birthday. So you're really excited. You look at the days. You're like, your heart is pumping as the days go closer. And eventually you finally get that computer and you're the happiest kid in the world. But when you're rich, you don't get to experience that. That is robbed from you. You can have the computer right there and then. The state-of-the-art computer. You can have it. Best gaming thing, you can have it. And sure, like when you have it, it's fun. Like you get to experience it for a couple of days, but then you get bored. Like, look, okay. Perfect example. I think I can explain it the best. Remember when you bought your latest monitor, right? And maybe you bought a better monitor than the one you had. And this new monitor maybe allowed you to play in 250 FPS and it had more colors or whatever, right? Do you know when you have the monitor for more than a week or more than a month, it becomes normal? Like, you don't look at your monitor and you're like, wow, this is a really cool monitor. I'm so glad I have it. It just becomes normal. It becomes mundane. And that's pretty much how it's like being rich. So, where am I going with this, right? When you're a rich person and you can have anything you want, and you get bored of everything, because even the luxurious is mundane, you need other things to entertain you. You need things that can't be bought. And those things that can't be bought could be women. But the problem is, like, even then, like, you have as many women as you want. You can have, like, any woman you want is probably going to date you. You're probably going to be able to seduce her. You're going to be bored of women because it's just too many. So it's not. So it just, it's kind of like the serotonin, right? Like the serotonin levels, they go up, but then you get immune to it. So you need more serotonin in order to get that kick. So again, you need things that can't be bought. You're into power now. You're into wealth. It's empire building. You want to create a business, a legacy or some shit. But that's not fun. Like that is like something that gives you some self of meaning because you identify through the empire that you built. But you need something else, right? Like, what do you do for pleasure? And again, like women, but like maybe you get bored of that after a while. So now you're going to look for more, how should I even say, deranged things, right? Like you can go into the borderline illegal. You can do all these bizarre fetishes, and you can do these bizarre things that normal people don't do because A, they don't have time, and B, they probably don't have $1 million mansion on an island where it's private and they can do those things away from the eyes of the law. So that is why you see all these rich and famous people doing all these bizarre shit. Really, the explanation is probably because they're bored. I doubt people become rich, or at least keep being rich for a long time being that hedonistic. Well, so you think Jeffrey Epstein was not hedonistic? Or like, what are we talking about? The Playboy magazine guy, do you think he wasn't hedonistic? Yeah, depraved explorations, exactly. Probably not keep the street. I don't know. I'll think about it. The moral of the story is stop asking people not in the business of thinking about their thoughts. Don't ask academics about the economy, and don't ask journalists about the truth. Oof, that is really good. They can find pleasure in simple things and food and drink. Look, I'll tell you why I came up to this conclusion. When I started my YouTube channel, I was dirt poor. And the idea of going out to the restaurant, I mean, we're talking like the cheapest restaurant in town, was luxurious for me. Now, as I'm doing YouTube, and as I'm working at the hospital, and now I have money, and I didn't have a girlfriend at the time, so I could spend all the money I wanted, I decided to renovate my apartment. And as I'm renovating my apartment, I don't have a kitchen. So I'm eating at this restaurant downstairs, and a food was around $20, like a full meal in Romania. So $20 for me allowed me to eat main course and dessert and appetizers, right? If I was cheeky. And the first time I go to the restaurant, I mean, it's really great, right? Like it's the fancy place, and the food is excellent, everything is great. And the first day was like that, second day was like that, third day was like that. But after a while, the food was just plain. Because I got used to it. And sometimes I was even like, the chef had a bad day. Right? And I realized this, so I stopped. I stopped because I realized, like, no, maybe going to a restaurant should just be for special occasions. So I can actually enjoy myself when I go there. And I don't think it's just me. I think it's like with other people as well. But again, like, it's the thing when you buy a monitor. Like, the last time I bought a monitor was, I think 2 or 3 years ago. Can't remember exactly. But I did invest quite a bit. Like, I saved money for 6 months because I wanted a really good monitor. I wanted a really good monitor because I didn't want to replace it again. Usually when I buy electronics, I buy them kind of, well, I wouldn't say state of the art, but I buy them really expensive so that I don't have to replace them soon. And this monitor that I have is really good. I mean, it supports 4K resolution, it's got HDR, it's got a lot of colors, and, you know, it's got bright gamma. It allows me to play games at high FPS. And when I got it, I was like really excited. Like, I was blown away because the previous monitor that I had was really bad. And now I have like a nice monitor, and I'm like, wow, this is so cool. And yeah, like for a couple of weeks, I was looking at games and I was like, oh God, like this is so detailed. This is so great. But after 2 weeks, it's normal. It's like, well, it's my monitor. Right? I don't look at it with admiration like I used to, because you get used to it. And that's pretty much how it's like for billionaires. Like, you get used, like the luxurious becomes mundane. Exactly, the cheap pay twice. That is a really good Romanian expression. If you buy cheap, you pay more than if you're buying expensive. Because you buy a cheap monitor, and then it breaks, and you have to buy another one. So yes, the cheap pay twice. I only do this with electronics. Sometimes with furniture, it depends. But like, I would rather pay more than pay less and then have the thing break down. I don't even know the make and model. I would have to do some research to figure out what I bought. It's from the Gamer Republic brand, I think. I missed the second half of the bagging's comment. Did I? I am too poor to buy cheap stuff. Yes, that's a Romanian expression. Yes, I'm too poor to buy cheap stuff. And it's also the self gratification thing, right? Um, if you buy a monitor right away, it's not the same like if you save money for 2 or 3 months and then you buy it. So it really feels cool, and it feels like you feel so accomplished with it, right? Like you save money for months, and then you buy something that you're proud of, and you look at that thing with awe and admiration. It's really great. No, that's not why I have the most expensive kind of cat. So first of all, Bengals in Romania, they don't sell for $4,000 or how much they're in the U.S. Because Romanians can't afford that. So a Bengal in Romania usually goes for like $500, which is still a lot, by the way. It's still an expensive cat. But the reason I have the Bengal is because I got it as a gift from a veterinarian, which is a friend of mine, and he has a Bengal cattery. And there was this cat which was a little bit older, and no one wanted it, so he gave it to me. And that's why I have, quote unquote, the most expensive cat. But it's, again, like, Americans, they look at a Bengal, and I think a Bengal in America used to cost around $10,000. But that was years ago, when the brand was just, when the breed was just made. So the breed of Bengals was made with an Asian leopard cat and a normal cat. And at the time, it was incredibly expensive. But now the price has lowered because there's another cat which is very popular. It's the Ashira. So the Ashira cat is a large cat which is made in a laboratory, and they're sterile. So those are the most expensive cats now. And the Bengal has dropped in price. I think it's around $4,000. But again, just because it's that much in America, in Romania it's a lot cheaper. Now, of course, I guess an American could come to Romania and buy a Bengal, but I think it's not worth the hassle. It's a lot easier to just spend the $4,000. Yeah, I know the brand, yes, but it's the breed, right? Like, Bengals are a fairly new breed. I think they're like 10 or 20 years old. Apparently, the story is that they didn't even know that it's possible to crossbreed a Asian leopard cat with a normal house cat. So that's what shocked people. And the second thing is that the offspring, they expected it to be sterile, but apparently no, they can actually have they can have kittens. So lab cat, how does it look like? Well, yeah, in America it's 4,000. In Romania it's $500. A Shira cat. Let me show you how it looks like. So this is the most expensive cat right now. At least the one that I know. So the Ashira cat is a very large breed. It's almost the size of a dog. Yeah, you can walk it on a leash. It's really cool, and you get it from a laboratory. So you can't actually breed them by yourself. And they're very expensive. They're like 10,000, 20,000 grand. It is the most expensive breed of cat. And it looks like a wild animal. Let me actually see how much is a Bengal cat price US. Oh, it actually dropped in price. So it's even cheaper now. It used to be, again, like a Bengal used to be $10,000. Then it went down to 4,000. And now it's from 1,500 to 3,000. In Romania, it's $500. I think it's going to be even cheaper soon. It's just because, in the beginning, there weren't that many. So that's why it costed a lot. But now they're actually a lot more common, so the price is going down. You could buy a wild cat for less. Yeah, you could, but there's a lot of legislation which prevents you from having wild animals. And secondly, and this is even more important, they're not house trained. So a wild cat isn't going to use the litter, it's going to destroy your sofa, it might be aggressive. Which is why people don't want the wild cat. Do you think that they intentionally made them sterile? Probably not, because they could just, like what normal breeders do. When you buy a cat, they castrate it. So usually when you buy a cat from a breeder as a pet, it's already castrated. So if they wanted to do that, like they would just castrate the shit out. But no, it's probably sterile because of the genetic manipulation that they're doing. So they genetically engineered this cat. And they don't even talk about the process of making it. It's intellectual property that's trademarked. So that's one of the reasons that it's so expensive. Yeah, it's also not just the initial cost. Tell us about the lady that bought the cat for you. So it was like this very rich lady came up. She had a very expensive perfume. She was, I think, in high school actually, right? She comes with this $2,000 coat. She had like very expensive shoes. Like everything on her was expensive. Like every accessory was at least $1,000 on her. And I was like, you know what? Like I'm glad my cat is going to end up in a nice home. I mean, India has a communism problem. All right, I'll check it after the stream, but I do believe you. Like I know that India has a communism problem. They had the communism problem for quite a few decades now. I should be able to get a kitten with shots deworm for like $140. Then of course litter box for the Serra. Yeah. I'll just adopt rather than buy. I don't like giving cats for adoption. I did in the past, but it's something that I realized is not a good idea. Usually people who adopt are more likely to abandon the cat than the people who paid for it. When you pay for the cat, you felt like you made an investment, and then you feel a little bit, how should I say, more tied to it, right? So you're not going to throw it away on a whim. Like, okay, I paid money for this. I'm not going to throw it away because it's like throwing money away. People who adopt often abandon their pets. Obviously, not all the time. I shouldn't stigmatize or stereotype, but it's less likely that a person who paid money is going to abandon. If I ever want a cat, I will just go out and pick a kitten off the street. Yeah, I respect that. The thing with the breed is that every breed has some features. For example, with the Bengal, you're not going to have fur on all of your clothes and all of your furniture because its hair is very short. So it doesn't make such a mess. It's playful even when old. And it's also very smart. Like, I had the Bengal which knew how to turn on the water faucet. This was actually a big problem because it would turn the water on, but it wouldn't put it off. So, but yeah, adopting cats from the street is nice. I do agree. I did that when I was a kid as well. The thing with cats is that they have thicker skin than humans, so you've got to pet them hard. Dude, I pet my cat softly. It depends where you're petting it. Like, it doesn't have that much skin around its head, so it likes being petted on its face. But anyway, right. Thank you for watching. I'll leave the stream on in order for it to be uploaded on BitChute. And you can find most of my streams there probably. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I appreciate the super chats.